Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Casey,
KJ,
and Mike.
You'll notice that there is a different name this week, and that is Casey. He is our special guest that is taking place for Corey, who wasn't able to be here this week. So welcome, Casey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Wasn't able is a loose term.
A very loose term. But now Casey gets to join us in a 3-man booth instead of sitting on the casting couch, which you've earned.
I know, I was gonna say.
You've been promoted.
You get to make the videos.
You get to be sitting on this side of the couch telling the people what to do.
Oh, I dig it.
Yep. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about Umbrella Academy, which earlier today they just announced has been renewed for a season 4.
You said final season?
Which will be the final season, yes.
Yikes.
We're getting one more season of Umbrella Academy, which will most likely come next year because they've been releasing them one a year. So they have one season, roughly 10 episodes, because that's all the other seasons have been, to wrap everything up. So let's first start off with the beginning of Umbrella Academy. Did either one of you know that it was a comic before it became a TV show? We'll start with Mike.
No.
No, you didn't know?
So I feel like that my answer to this is almost always no.
You say that, but you if Guardians of the Galaxy, when that came out,
still didn't know it was a comic.
You didn't know that was a comic?
Okay. I knew Iron Man, Spider-Man,
Batman.
The regular most known ones are comics. I'm sure they all are, and I'm sure that there's a million other comics out there that they're going to be like, hey, I can make $10 million on this or whatever, whatever their money line is, but I didn't know.
I
was unaware.
You were unaware.
I was unaware there was a comic.
Okay. What about you, Casey?
So I myself, as a connoisseur of comic books, also didn't know. I had no clue.
So we got both spectrums.
Yeah.
And neither one of you had any
nope,
idea.
Not a clue.
No, my thought on this, though, is that did they encompass all of the comic book-esque storyline in these 4 seasons, or this, including this upcoming 4th season? Is it a long-running comic run?
It was only 2 years, 2007 till 2009.
Okay,
and then
so
then they redid it, or did another one starting in 2018 that is still currently running.
Yeah, I don't know any of the new comic runs, anything like that. The older comic books, I would look at and read as a kid, but.
So they had the Umbrella Academy, then they had the Umbrella Academy Dallas, which is roughly what season 2 was when they went back in time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then season 3 is based off of the new comic that was what was that hotel called in season 3? It's Hotel something, but the hotel that the
Obsidian?
whole season.
Yes.
Obsidian, something like that. So I think it was that or a similar name that they had for the name of the comic. So I don't know what season 4 is based on, if they did another comic afterwards from that one. But it seems like they've kind of followed. Season 1 is going to be the first series of the comic. Season 2 is the second series. Season 3 is the third series.
You said there was only 2 series of the comic, though.
2 series in 2007, and then in 2018 they released the third one, which was the hotel one, which then we
2007 to 2018?
2007 to 2009 for the first 2 runs. Then they took a break for 9 years.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
You got writer's cramp?
Volume 3 is Hotel Oblivion. And Volume 4 is Sparrow Academy. So those are the 4 volumes currently.
Well, Season 3 is Sparrow Academy, right?
Right, but also Hotel.
Also
so
Hotel
I wonder
Oblivion,
if they merged the 2.
Yeah, I would
So
assume
then maybe we're flying blind in Season 4. Maybe they're just now taking everything that they've done because they reset
long as they
the
don't
timeline.
Season 8 Game of Thrones it.
Oh, yeah. Although Game of Thrones
We don't have content material. We're going to put us out of our asshole.
Game of Thrones was off season since season 5. And season 6 was still good. Season 7, meh. And then season 8, bad.
Right.
But if they can just do one season off book, maybe.
And I feel like calling them superheroes is a super loose term because they're not really saving anybody except from their own. They're saving people from their own issue.
Well, that's only what we see when the show starts. But before that, they are saving people. It's one of the reasons their father takes them to begin with.
Right. They get rid of bank robbers when they're kids and stuff like that, but Then they break up.
Well, yeah, because it's a very dysfunctional family.
Right.
Yeah.
Their dad seems like a giant jerkhead.
You can say dickhead, asshole, cunt even. It's fine. It's a podcast.
Fair enough. Their dad seems like a dickhead.
Yeah, their dad definitely is a dickhead. Although I started to like him in season 3, and we'll get more into season 3 after. And then he flipped a switch, and he like tricked me, and I was like, "Damn it! I should have known." Because everything from the first 2 seasons showed you that.
Yep.
And no, they tricked me.
Well, he's an alien.
Sure,
Ooh,
but he's an
spooky, man.
alien in the other one, in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't see him as an alien until
No.
season 3?
Correct. You can make some questionable thoughts, especially in season 2.
Yeah,
Right,
season
where
2.
he's like on like a weird looking planet with
Yep.
his dying wife.
Yep. And then also the fact that it doesn't look like he ages from when they see him in the past in season 2 from where he looks in season 1 where he dies.
Yeah.
Like, there doesn't seem to be much age difference there.
And he
He
should
also
be
made a
hella old.
robot for his wife. So there are a
Well, I
lot
mean-
of things that you could,
Bill Gates is on his way to be doing that now.
well,
anyway.
on his way, but he hasn't done it
At
yet.
least you won't
You don't know
divorce him and
that?
try to take half his money.
If anyone's a robot or an alien,
It's
Zuck-
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
the
Yeah.
Zuck.
Yes, I too like barbecue sauce on my bookshelf. Yes, this is a very human thing to put here.
Yeah. That whole thing with him at Congress was so weird to watch.
Oh yeah. The whole time I'm just waiting for his eyes to blink sideways. Like, come on, man, just do it. We do it. We know you're a fish person. Just do it.
Just breathe through your eyeballs.
Yeah, or I was waiting for the steam to start
Yeah,
coming
just
out.
something, man.
Or him to be like, does not compute.
Yeah.
How great would that have been? Even if he was just trolling everybody.
Oh my god.
So
They
he had
ask
to
a
reboot.
question. Yeah. They ask a question instead of him going, "Oh, I don't understand. Can you repeat?" Yada yada. He'd just be, "Does not compute." It would have been great. Back to Umbrella Academy. So the first season came out, I believe, in 2019. Were you guys excited about it? Did you hear about it? Was it just another Netflix show that you needed to kind of get told about? Or where were you at excitement level for when you first heard about it, Casey?
I started watching it 4 months ago.
Oh, the whole thing. So you
Yep.
got to binge 3 seasons.
Yeah, so I've got 2 of my buddies who are very into it, and they were like, "Oh, season 3's coming out. It looks like it's going to be really good." I was like, "What the heck's Umbrella Academy?"
Oh, you had never even
Nope.
heard of it?
And my buddy
before?
Max was like, "I hate you. You have to watch this right now." And I was like, "Okay." So like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I watched season 1 and 2. And I was like, "Oh, this is pretty neat." And then I watched season 3 after
get
you had
ready for
messaged
this
me. Yeah,
podcast.
I was like, "Hey, we're doing Umbrella Academy. Have you watched season 3?" No, but I can change that.
What about you, Mike? Something you knew about? Did you watch season 1 right
I-
away?
I also didn't know about it until season 3 came out. I saw a lot of previews and whatnot for season 3, and then I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. It's like about superheroes with powers or something like that." And I was like, "Hey, wife, you want to watch this?" And she's like, "I already see season 1 and 2." Because if there's a show out, she's seen it. So
So you're telling me we need to get her for this podcast and replace you?
has seen lots and lots of shows.
Umbrella Academy, for me, I started watching it the first season. And I think it was mostly because of Corey. I think Corey mentioned it. I watched a preview, and then I was like, it looks okay. It's about superheroes, about people getting into a lot of trouble. It had, well, it's now Elliot Page, but it was
Ellen
Ellen
Page,
Page,
I think.
yeah. So it had him in it, and I liked him in other things that he was in beforehand, a bunch of things, and I was like, oh, okay, it's worth a shot.
You like Juno?
I don't know. Yeah, Juno was good.
Really?
Yeah, Juno was really good. This also had Michael Cera in it, who's one of my favorite underrated actors. Love me some Michael Cera. There was also, who else is in that show? The big guy. It's Tom Hopper. Tom Harper, who plays Luther. Number 1.
Luther, gotcha.
I know him from a bunch of things. He was in Game of Thrones. He was in Black Sails. He was in so many other things. And I really liked him too. So I was like, all right, there's 2 people I know that are in it. Let's give it a shot. And then the first season, I actually really liked it. Kind of kept you a little bit on the edge of your seat.
I thought it was kind of slow.
You thought season 1 was slow.
Yeah.
I thought the big reveal to the ending with Elliot was slow. Because I was like, get to it already. Like, come on. We know that she in the show playing, what was her name in the show? Vana?
Vanya, yeah.
Vanya. We knew she was going to be the big bad. It seemed like
Now
everything was
he's
building that
Victor?
up. Yes, Victor.
Yep.
But it looked like Vanya was set up to be, because how are you going to have this whole family with no superpowers? Clearly, it was like building up from episode 1 that she had all these powers. And then, so I was waiting for that. So that, I agree with you, was slow. I didn't really think everything else was. They started right away with their dad dying and everybody coming back together. So yeah, he ended up dying in the first episode. That's why everybody comes back. So I thought it started quite well. Season 2, I'll say, I thought was slow. Season 2 was very slow to me anyway.
I didn't really like the 50s-esque of it. I don't know. There's something about
Just
the 50s.
the setting, or
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of like the setting. Like, I feel like they could have chosen a different era. I'm always roaring 20s. Could have done 20s.
Yeah, they could have done 20s. I mean, they could have done a lot, but I think they were trying to have them obviously interact with their dad, so they kind of had to do the 50s, because at that time you don't really know he's an alien, and now we do, so technically they could have done the 20s, because he wasn't going to age either way.
That's true.
So I
we
think
don't
that
really
was
know how
part of
old
it.
or whenever he met Earth.
Well, in season 3, they
Earth.
show him like 100 plus years ago at one point.
Yeah, as he comes to Umbrella Academy, like in the 20s.
Is it the 20s?
It's like early.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been the perfect stage for it.
For the second season?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when he starts like building that hotel, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, he opens the Umbrella Academy in the Umbrella Factory.
Well, yeah, and then he also builds that hotel, Hotel Obsidian or Oblivion, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would have been a pretty cool scenery for it for the 20s. I also thought that they could have done more stuff with the future, too. Like, you got in the season 1, you had... What number is he?
5.
Is it 5, the one that goes to the future?
Kid? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the kid one, like, he's phenomenal in
Yeah.
the show.
That act, I don't know what his name is. He's amazing. He sold me on every scene that he was in.
Aiden.
Yeah.
Aiden
He's
Gallagher.
amazing.
Yeah, I loved him in the entire thing. Even with him being an old guy, like, it was fine. But him playing the kid being the old guy, he's spot on.
Yep.
The entire time. You kind of feel like he's actually been through everything that he's been through after all of these years.
Yep.
It was really well done, and it just added so many more layers to that character. He's probably, for me, the most interesting character they have out of
agree.
the whole show. There's other ones I like, but that one's definitely up there for being my favorite.
And they flush out some of the backstories reasonably well, but I feel like his is the only one that they didn't really force you to care about. You just cared about it. You're like, oh, this is interesting. He's been through some shit. This is actually interesting to learn about.
Well, his like entire history is the whole story arc. Like
Yeah.
him going missing
Yeah.
and then going through time,
was
going
all
to the
supposed to
time
happen.
bureau, going into the future. You find out that he is actually the creator of the time bureau.
Yeah, he's the one that assassinated JFK. Like,
Right.
just a bunch of wild stuff. And it all stems from him deciding, like, you know what? I'm going to go back in time. No, don't do that. You know what? I'm going to do it anyways. Just leaves dinner.
They did have a lot of paradoxes type things
Yeah.
throughout the whole show that some of them I
that's
weren't
all
a
it was.
giant fan of.
Time travel is
That's
nuts.
part of it, yeah. Especially because that's all they've done. Season
Yeah.
1, time travel. Season 2, time travel. Season 3, time travel / alternate reality.
I mean, this is the key, though. Like, we've seen a million apocalypse movies. This is it. You just time travel. Done.
Yeah, just keep hitting
Solve
that
the problem.
reset button
Yeah.
every time.
Well, it solves a problem for you.
Right, doesn't solve the problem for anybody that's on that branching reality.
Right. Like
But if you just don't think they exist, Mike, it's fine.
Yeah.
yeah,
Easy
so,
peasy.
Again, if you think of it as a tree, there's multiple limbs that they just leave behind
They
to
do.
die.
Eh.
But
They
I'm
don't die though. They
but-
quote unquote save the world, but they really don't.
Right. Yeah, that world is completely gone at this point.
Nah, I'm sure it's
The
fine.
original reality.
I'm sure it's fine.
Well, their original reality, they blew up. Their second original reality, they blew up.
They sent a moon at it.
Yeah. And then the third original
Just
reality.
pieces.
Yeah, it's just all bad.
I would say
Like,
most of.
I do think it's one of those things at a certain point, everything every time they do something, they screw up.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like I think in season 3, they even say that. Like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here. Because every time I do something, I fuck it up worse than what it was. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to let the world end. Whatever. I'm done. Yeah. And then they still do something.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then they don't do that. We're going to make a plan. What's the plan? Do nothing and die. All right, I like that plan. 5 minutes later, I hate that plan.
We're going to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think? So Mike thought it was a bit slow in season 1. What about you, Casey? Because yours is probably fresher than both of ours.
I didn't think that it was very slow, but I didn't think they did a good job of making you very invested in the storyline. I thought they took a lot of time to make you invested in the characters, which is great, but I can care about somebody, but I also want to care about what's going on.
Yeah,
and the show is more than the sum of its characters.
Yeah, although it's very hard when you have that many characters to try to get you to invest in all of them.
Yep.
And I'd say I was invested in most of them. Maybe not all, but definitely a lot of them. But I agree with you. The story wasn't as good as it should have been.
Right.
Especially when you compare it to season 3, which has a great story.
It has season 1 has my favorite scene of all time. I remember watching like the first 15 minutes, and then I paused and messaged my buddy and was like, okay, I think I know why you like this show, but I need to understand. Their dad died like a week ago, and they're just dancing the funky chicken in their house?
Yep.
What's going on? This is weird as shit.
I forgot about that dance.
Yeah, it's just where you can see all the rooms in the house, and they're all just dancing. And I was like, all right, Dad died, time to dance.
As we said earlier, he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure, I guess, but that was just weird.
Well, and then they kept the dancing up for season 3,
episode
1.
Did the same
they did
thing,
the Footloose thing, which was hilarious, but it was only in his mind, which was great. If we talk about moving into season 2, let's talk about the ending of season 1. Were you excited? Now, obviously, you knew there was a season 2.
Right.
Because you just watched it a couple months ago. Mike, you knew there was a season 2 because you only just started watching it last year or something, or however many months ago. So, knowing there was a season 2, were you excited to get there to see what they would do next after season 1?
The end of season 1 brought it all together. So like I said, it was slow to get into, but once you got into season 1, you got invested into the story. So season 2, pretty much same thing. Again, I wouldn't say it's my favorite show that I've watched. It's slow, but at the same time, it also draws you into it. It's such a weird when I think of it, I like the show, but I can't tell you why I like it.
Well, I will say, so it's not action all the time, although I think season 3 felt like it had more action than the other ones.
Episode 1 of season 2 is awesome. Their fight scene when it looks like they have their max powers. Yeah. And you see the guy who controls death, raising the army from the dead. Yeah, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's number 5, the one who talks to the dead.
Yeah,
yeah, I love him. Or not number 5, no, number 4.
4, yeah.
Robert Sheehan.
Oh, that's Robert Sheehan. There we go.
Yeah, who's from Misfits, and I don't know if you've ever seen Misfits, BBC show. Watch that shit. I think it's on Hulu. It's fantastic. They get superpowers, but they're delinquents. They're all in juvie type of place where they have to clean up graffiti and things like this. So they're not great people, and they get hit by a thunderstorm, and then turn into superheroes. And one of them can rewind time a bit. One of them, when she touches you, you're just gonna fuck her. There's another one that can turn himself invisible. There's another one that can hear your thoughts.
I do not have that superpower.
No.
But it's great. That's how I first knew of him. It's also, if we were just talking about Game of Thrones, which we've all seen, right? Casey, you've seen Game of Thrones?
Yep.
The guy who plays the other bastard. So we have the Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow and Bolton.
Yep, Bolton. Ramsay.
He's from the same show, Misfits, as well. So it's Catelyn Stark. She's in it too, as actually Robert Sheehan's mother. But there's a lot of people from that show that ends up in Game of Thrones.
Huh.
But it's a great show. Hulu. Watch that shit. It's 5 seasons long, but it's BBC, so it's 5 episodes a season.
Okay.
So it's very quick to get through, but it's great. But anyway, so yeah, Robert Sheehan is in it. Yeah, he did have his full powers, bringing back the dead. I did like that in season 3, granted, when you think his dad is a good guy, that they really work on his character, too.
Yeah.
With trying to, like, how much more you can do, and you're going to die and come
It's
back
just
at a certain
kill him
time.
over and over and over again.
Dude, that
I'm
was
just
a
hanging out with Dad. We're
fantastic
playing catch.
montage.
We're playing catch with Dad. He just throws a ball at him in the street.
Yeah.
But that's such a good scene. It's also one of the scenes why I started to like the dad, because even though he just did a horrible thing, he was doing it for a good reason. Like, let's bring you back. Let's get you better at your power.
Was it for a good reason, or was it like it looked like it was just for science?
Well, it was for science, but then, like, at the only reason that he survived at the end is because of that training with his dad. Because when his dad kills him again, he was able to come back quick and then still jump through in the hotel. Because otherwise he would have been dead.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Yeah, because the first time his dad killed him, it was like 45 minutes. If that was to happen, that whole world would have been gone.
It would have been Kugelblitzed, I think is what they call it.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah, it's a Kugel. Yeah, the Kugelblitz.
All right.
And then they referred to somebody as getting Kugelblitzed.
It's a verb now.
Yeah. It's a great word. I love saying that now.
Whenever you drink, you just get straight Kugelblitz. Just obliterates your world.
I did like for season 2 that when they did come into the world, they seemed to come in at different times.
Yep.
Like, I thought that was an interesting take rather than them all coming right together. So some of them had to make their own way for quite a few years before their other siblings actually got there. I thought that was an interesting take that I wasn't expecting, I guess. I was expecting them just all to come together and then continue on in the 50s or whatever. So having to then find everybody again might have just been a plot device, but it was also one of those where I was like, okay, I can see what they're trying to do here, and then you get to see the lives that they have. Like, Robert Sheehan's character has, in the first season, like a cult that's with him, and then the second season, he's by himself. You have, I forgot her name again. Allison. Yes, thank you. She's like a movie star in the first season, right?
Yep.
And then in the second season, because she's in the 50s and she's black, she basically gets no respect and shunned. Like, you got to see like a completely different side of them. So I liked that. I just think the season itself didn't live up to kind of what I wanted for it. And it was mostly because it all felt, maybe it was because we were in the past and it felt like we were all leading to what we already know was going to happen in the future. So it was why I was very happy when we got to season 3. It's a completely different thing.
Right.
Like, you didn't just get back to the current present tense and everything's back to normal. You got, oh shit, everything's wrong. There's people living in our house. There's our dad's alive. What's happening type of moment. That I really liked. What were you thinking, Mike, when you first, at the end of season 2, end of season 2, they have that great battle, which was a very fun battle to watch. You got to see a lot of characters that had been in the show for 2 seasons die, like that girl, the one who was kind of running the agency for a while. You got to see the fish die as well.
No, the fish doesn't die though, right?
Doesn't he? I thought he died.
She just puts it in like a fish tank on her desk.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, she just keeps them in a bowl.
Yeah, but she dies.
Yep.
And then you get the great big battle, and then it looks like they're going forward in time to their present tense, but then everything's changed. So between season 2 and season 3, Mike, were you going, oh, what the hell's going on? I'm excited, or you were just like, okay, let's just see where they go?
Yeah, I think I watched it the same day. Like, it had already come out, so I was just like, yeah, let's put on season 3.
Yeah. Well, that's good at least. That's one of those things where, as long as you're not wanting to shut it off. I mean, obviously it's better that season 3 was already out for you, ready to watch, rather than it being a year later, because I don't know how you would have reacted a year later. If you still would have watched it, or if you would have been like, I don't really care.
And season 3 visually looked really cool, too. Like, the scene when he's sitting, like, on the side of the world, and the whole world is being sucked up into the Kugelblitz.
Yep.
Looks so cool. It was kind of cool, too, that they, one of the kids is just a cube.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty great.
That was something random.
Yeah.
I'm also very curious of, all of these kids were born. So, did a cube get born?
Maybe.
Like, that's the whole story of this old guy going and paying all these people for their mom. So, is it something that she just gave birth to a cube? Like, it's very confusing. They never explain that
Consciousness
part.
transfer or something. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, and they don't explain it at all.
I still think it's funny that one of the guys on there, I don't remember what number he is, but he's the guy that has like the super facial deformity.
Oh yeah, because
He's,
he gets hit in the face so
yeah.
much.
He's testicles with teeth. Like
Testicles with teeth.
I just saw his face and I was like, why does he look like a nutsack? What's the hell?
But I thought that was like kind of like it's a good power to have. It's a bad side effect, whether he's droopy or whether he's just taking his face is taking all the blows and then his becomes disfigured. It's also like what kind of power? Even though it was really funny to begin season 3 with that Footloose dance, like one of the funniest things I've seen to have. Number one, the big Jack guy just start dancing to Footloose and like talking very serious when Diego's talking to him and he's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm saving the family. And he just starts dancing. It was one of those moments I was just like, oh, I'm thankful I'm watching this show.
That's the power of the spitter.
Yes, but her power, if she doesn't hit you with the venom, like it's just a useless power.
I mean, that could be said for a lot of superheroes. Like, if Cyclops doesn't hit you with his lasers,
I mean, that's
it's a useless
you're gonna
power.
have a more ability to hit with a laser than you are shooting venom. Laser, I can just keep going. She can't just keep going with the venom. She shoots like one spurt.
She's like a Dilophosaurus.
A Dilophosaurus.
Yeah, the spitter.
Okay. Okay.
It killed Nedry. It's good enough for me.
That's all it needed to do.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. Okay. You look at the other ones they had. Obviously, their number one was great, like for what he could do. Their number 2 was our number. What number died? 7? 6?
I think it was 7. Might have been 6, but I think it was 7.
I thought she was 7.
Ben.
Yeah, it's Ben.
Yeah.
I think he's 6.
Maybe it's 6.
I think it's 6 because I think she's 7. Like, right? Vanya is
Hentai
7.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he opens a portal and just has a bunch of tentacles come out, or a portal in his stomach, or he's got the tentacles, or whatever. Fantastic power. You're probably going to die to that. But it just looked like some of the powers that some of them have aren't great. Like the I Told You a Rumor one is good, but it's easily blockable. You know, put headphones on, plug your ears, don't listen to her. You ain't got to worry about her. She doesn't
punch
really
her right in the mouth when she tries to tell you what rumor she heard.
Right.
I heard her. Wow.
Right. Before she can start, do something. But there are other ones,
Same
obviously.
as like Black Bolt.
Yes. Especially if you have Reed Richards saying, hey, Wanda.
Yeah.
If he opens his mouth once.
Hey, if she tells you about a rumor, you don't listen. You don't hear nothing.
Yikes.
I ain't no snitch.
Yeah.
I'd say I think one of my favorite like instances in season 3 was when he has Luther, number 1.
Yeah, Luther.
When he has like that big moment with Allison and then they dance and all this other stuff and it's great. And then, nope, that didn't actually happen. And then he ends up having some sloppy one night stand with some rave girl instead. I was like, man, that's about as far from what he really wanted as could have actually happened.
Well, I really like that they I felt like season 3 had a lot of character arcs and development like his.
Yeah.
Finally moving on from her.
Monkey.
And then going with
They're just trying
the new one.
not to promote brother sister.
Well, they're not technically related. They just
Okay, so that's the Pornhub view of this.
no, they're not even stepbrothers or steps. I guess they're not stepbrothers or stepsisters. They're adopted brothers.
Say they're adopted.
That's even less.
Adopted. That's stepbrother or stepsister.
No, you're not called.
deal.
No, step is if you get married and you already have somebody.
Yeah.
You're just called my adoptive brother or my adoptive sister. I don't even know if that's a category on Pornhub.
What, adopted?
Like-
I'm sure it is.
I mean, you got a computer. There's only one way to find that.
Hang on, let me go get my work computer. Let's see how this goes.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
But anyway,
It's a fine line.
but I like that my point was they seem to move on some of these characters. Obviously, you got to see Robert Sheehan's character move on with his dad and try to work out some of that shit. Granted, he got betrayed at the end again. But then you had
Let that be a
Luther.
lesson to you.
Yeah, exactly. Murder your dad first if he's an alien.
Luther getting over Allison
Yeah,
and falling in
getting-
love with Sloane, I think
Yes,
her name is.
it was great, and they had a good even when he got kidnapped, like I thought it was setting everything up quite well.
Yep.
I really liked, which I didn't think I'd like her power anyway. Granted, she dies, but the Crow Lady.
Yeah. That was
Like,
pretty sick.
I thought some of her powers were great and fun to watch.
She reminds me of the girl from The Matrix.
Trinity.
No, like
Oh,
the captain. She always wears like a red leather like jacket with.
I know what you're talking about.
She looks very Matrix-esque.
Jada
every time
Pinkett
she goes
Smith?
anywhere. Maybe Jada. Yeah,
yeah. Jada was.
she's
in,
one of the captains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when you see her in The Matrix,
Don't talk about her hair though.
Oh jeez.
Lack thereof. We're
gotta
not really
leave.
on a stage, so I don't think anybody's
Will
gonna
Smith's
come
gonna
out and
bust
slap
through your
us.
door like the fucking Kool-Aid man.
Keep her name out of your podcast.
Dude, there were so many memes and videos of them cutting that out.
What did the five fingers say to the face? Keep my name out your wife's mouth.
But then there was one where he's yelling at the guy that she cheated on him with, or that he allowed her to cheat on him with, where it's like where they changed the word name to like dick.
Oh
Keep
god.
your dick out of my wife's mouth. There's just tons of those. Man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad, but I also don't feel bad, because comedy.
It's comedy. It's also they did it to themselves. The
Yeah.
only person I really feel bad for is Chris Rock.
Yep.
Like it wasn't even that bad of a joke.
Yep.
Like about freaking G.I. Jane 2, like a movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like it's a 20-something-year-old reference, and that's what we're gonna get upset about.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's dysfunctional relationship aside, and let's talk about the dysfunctional relationship in Umbrella Academy.
All of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is all dysfunctional, but you do get to see on multiple occasions that the crowd and the family do like love each other and try to come together when they're supposed to. Obviously, they're still gonna fight, but when worse comes to worse, they try to have each other's backs. Not that it works out for them every time.
Nope.
More often than not, it kind of fucks up.
Yep. This goes back to the we're gonna make this plan, and then they just throw it all out.
There's always a plan. Like, I'm pretty sure every other episode, there's like, here's the plan. And then the next episode, the plan goes to shit.
Yeah, I feel like their board meeting for every episode is, all right, here's the plan. And then the next episode is, all right, we're going to do none of that.
Yes. Or we tried to do step one that went terribly wrong. There's the adage about fighting. Everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face.
Yep.
And then everything gets thrown out the window, and then you're just going for it, flying by the seat of your pants. And
Yep.
I feel like this show is a perfect
You get
definition of that.
Kicked in the side of the head on a
That's true.
on random.
With like 40 or 56 seconds left. Yeah.
And then go stargazing for a little while.
Yeah, that was a bad head kick. We're referencing the UFC, by the way.
With you.
Did you just reference Space Jam?
So what he does?
I want to stay home and make cookies with you.
Donald Duck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a Space Jam reference. Look at Mike going. Donald Duck, yeah, pulling at the Monster Squad or Mon Squad.
I haven't seen
Mon
Space
Squad.
Jam in forever.
It holds up in the sense that it wasn't that good back then. It's not that good now, but it's still great.
This is better than Space Jam 2, though.
Oh, Space Jam 2 is one of the worst movies ever made. So yes,
Have you seen it?
yes,
Oh,
don't.
okay.
Please don't.
I won't.
Yeah, it's so bad. Let's talk about favorite characters. Like, so there's a lot, and I'm talking about through the whole series. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from season 1 that lasted all the time. Could be somebody that died. But your favorite character of the whole thing. Now, the best character for acting, I still think is 5.
Yeah.
But for favorite character, I'm going with 4 with Robert Sheehan. Like, I love his character. I love him as an actor, so that probably adds to it. But his character's just so funny to
What's
me.
his character's name?
Klaus.
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 Yes, okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Klaus through the whole show. Like, I think he's great as that character, and he does remind me some of the Misfits character that he played in that BBC show. So I think that's probably part of it for me. But what about you, Mike? Favorite character through the whole series?
I liked Klaus as a character. I think he was probably one of my favorite. He's more interesting.
Yep.
I mean, 4 is much more involved in the storyline, and he's obviously like blatantly
4 is Klaus.
I mean,
Five.
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 So he's much more involved in the storyline and, like, obviously smarter. He always comes up with the idea that follows the storyline through.
Yep.
But Klaus is just very, like, energetic, I guess. It just brings a lot to the story.
And I feel like he brings humor in the best possible way.
Right.
Like that, if you're just adding jokes to add jokes, it doesn't really land, but it fits his character every time he does it because of who they built the character up in season 1. So it just fits every time. The things he says, him trying to have that father-son relationship in season 3 and us getting that montage of him dying a bunch was probably like one of the best, if not funniest scenes of this whole series.
I think it's funny when you see him, like, finally realize that he's died all these times and is like, oh, I thought I just, like, woke up and I had a really bad night. It's like he fell off the roof of, like, a 3rd floor, like, during a party while he's drinking, and he just wakes up and he's like, oh. But you kind of see that in episode 1 when he, like, ODs or something.
Yep.
And then he, like, comes back to life in the ambulance.
Yep.
You kind of see that he already has that
Yeah, they were
ability.
planting that seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't really flesh it out until a later season.
Right.
And, I mean, ultimately, he is responsible for getting the entire ball rolling. Because if he didn't take the tin with the book in it and then throw the tin in the trash, the guy would have never found the tin, and then he would have never recruited Seven. So, realistically, the whole story is because he was trying to get money at a pawn shop.
Yep.
He fucked it all up.
Yeah, I think that's one of those points, too, of, especially this show, is that when they do something, no matter how small it is, it has a bigger
ripple
impact.
effect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like the ripple effect in this show is so broad.
Yeah.
And then as it goes, it's like, oh, well, we saved the planet, but then you've done this huge other thing. And they're just constantly trying to, like, fix, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So I'm wondering what season 4 is going to bring.
Not to mention with it being the last season, too.
Right. Well, season 3, they almost ruined time. Like, the first, they almost destroy the planet. Then the second one, they almost destroy the planet, but nuclear holocaust of some kind.
Well, the nuclear holocaust was supposed to be season 1 as well. That's why 5 came back in time, and they were gonna have a nuclear holocaust.
Well, no, the world died. They come to find out because the moon fell on it. The second one was the Reds and the U.S. have, like, nuclear war between the two.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Vanya, like, exploded, and we were like, oh my god, it's an attack, nuke them. And then they
Right.
were like, oh my god, they're attacking us, nuke them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
And then season 3, now you have, like, all of time being erased.
Yep.
So the real question is like, how much bigger can you go from that? Like,
Well, I think we're going to get space.
What's bigger than all of time?
Well, I don't think we're going to get necessarily that, but I assume we're going to get something with the aliens, because how do you not follow up with that? With him being an alien, with him trying to get his prize, which I assume is getting his wife back.
Right.
But they're trying to do all this stuff, so I have to assume, maybe she comes back in this season as, like, a real person, or an alien, or whatever she is, rather than her being the robot that she is in the first.
Well, they came back,
seasons.
and we see them, and none of them have their powers.
Correct. And also, what's her face? Sloane is gone.
Yep.
Like, one's wife is gone, Luther's wife.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, they're all gone, and then they also don't know where Allison is. Is that what did we say her
Yep.
name was? Allison. They don't know where she is, because she's not with them, because she's at the house with her daughter.
Right.
So it's going to leave a lot of things up in the air, because they don't have powers. There's going to be new villains, because obviously it's going to be a show, so it's going to be 10 episodes. They're going to have some villains, but none of them have their powers. So does it end with them all dying, them going back to their original timeline? Does it end with them doing something else? Does it end with them getting their powers back somehow? Like, that's one of the things that has me excited. Granted, now we have to wait a year for it, but it has me excited for season 4, especially knowing, I don't like that necessarily the show is ending, but knowing there's a finite finale means we're gonna hopefully, granted, most TV shows don't give you all the answers, but we should be getting a lot of answers.
Yeah,
right?
get some resolution.
Yeah, because otherwise, if they want to keep it going, they're going to keep it going, and they're going to leave out the mysteries, and then you have to keep watching to hopefully find them out. This one really shouldn't do that with it, knowing they've got 10 episodes, 10 hours, there you go, it's over. So I'll be very curious in that sense.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, well, you can be like Lost and give us no answers. That's fine. What about you, Casey? Favorite character?
So, I liked Klaus. I think I liked 5 more. Outside of that, I think my favorite tertiary character is definitely one of the pair of like time travel assassins.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
the guy and the girl.
Yep.
Dude, he was so great.
He was.
The fact that he was like, I've lived a really great life. I've done all this cool stuff. I traveled through time and murdered people. Now I'm just gonna marry this old lady and live the rest of my life.
It was Hazel.
Yeah,
right?
Hazel. Yeah.
And Hazel and Cha-Cha.
Cha-Cha, yeah.
Cha-Cha was Mary J. Blige, by
Yeah.
the way. Yep. And
What a guy.
Hazel was good.
That was so great. I thought his character was so... I think it was what his character thought about things was so unrealistic that it was realistic. Like, I've done all this really cool stuff. I travel through time. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm just going to settle down.
I mean, wouldn't you do that after a while? Like, if you just keep doing this for decades, centuries, millennia, wouldn't eventually just be like, I want to tap out? I completely agree with him. Like,
I don't know,
at a
man.
certain
I like
area-
time traveling.
They're so nonchalant about it,
Yeah.
too, which I just think is funny. They're just like, yeah, I'm just a company man. Like, somebody like selling, phone books
Vacuums or something,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like door to door when they're just like out there like assassinating people.
International planetary like time travel assassins. Like, I don't know, man. If I had to work my current job for 300 years, yeah, I'd want to tap out. I'd probably want to tap out of life too, but that's besides the point. But that seems like a very interesting job. I'd want to do that for a really long time.
But I'm saying he already did
Kill
it for a
people?
long time.
Ooh.
Well, I
I
mean,
feel like that would weigh on
Jump through
you.
time, and it depends who it is.
Hitler, fine.
Well,
A
he
baby.
lives, exactly, yeah.
Yes, he was really good. Like, I can understand why you think him being like a great side character. 'cause
Yeah,
he, really
he was
is,
great.
Yeah. I really liked the person that ends up being like Diego's little girlfriend person too. I
Oh,
loved-
Lila.
Is
Is that her name? I think so.
Is it Lila?
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
I thought she was great in it, and I like that she can steal other people's powers.
Yep.
Like, I thought that was very interesting that she's able to just take their... She has to be in, like, close proximity to them,
Yep.
and then
So
she
we're
can steal
missing-
their powers.
5 more people, right?
Who are we missing? What do you mean?
So they said that there was 20 people that were born on that day with powers, right?
Was it 20?
I think they said like it's 20.
I thought it was 40 something.
43.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're missing
A shit ton.
Yeah. Like half.
20 something because now we know that, well, Lila is one of them, right? Supposedly. And then we have 14 between the two families.
Yeah. So 28.
Well, we don't have 14 between the two families because one of them is the same person in both.
Oh, Ben.
Ben
Yeah.
is the same in both. Number 2 is our number 6.
He's just a
Okay, so we
jerk
have
in this
13.
timeline.
Yeah, so we have 13 plus her is 14, and we had 43. So there are still 20 something. But we're in a whole different timeline now. Or maybe no one was born. Maybe they're going to see their alternate selves. Because didn't it show him, Ben, on a train?
Yep.
Yeah,
at the
they
very
showed
end
Ben on a
with the-
train. Like,
with the
he
girl,
wasn't
yeah.
with them. So they showed Ben on a train. So and that's supposed to come into play too in the next one of why he's on this train or whatever.
And not selected.
Taking the midnight
Right.
train to Georgia.
Yeah, so there's so many things that they leave
It's in my
unanswered.
head now.
You're welcome. I meant Georgia like the country.
Oh, yikes.
Taking a midnight nuke to Georgia.
But yeah, I don't know if they're going to introduce the other ones. They easily could, especially. I mean, if there's 43 of them, that leaves you a lot of kids that are out there that are supposed to have powers,
Right.
whether they're good or whether they're bad.
Wait, we do see the wife reincarnated at the end. She's at the top of the tower.
So we see her, but is it her? Is it the robot? Is it? What do we see? Like, we don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't really know.
Yes.
There might be one of those like super subtle Easter egg style clues
Well,
to
I mean, like
make
he
you guess.
has like
but-
this like tower built to himself. He's now Tony Stark of
Yeah.
the timeline.
Right.
I would assume it's probably his actual
If
life.
he even remembers anything. Like, they don't tell us that either. The only people that remember that we know for sure, because it didn't look like Ben remembered when he's sitting on the train. The only
Ben
people
is
that
Gonzo.
well, when Ben's in the train, it doesn't show. That's in the new timeline, right?
Right.
And
But
it
it looks
doesn't.
like the only people that remember are the people that like went through the timeline
Right.
thing.
Well, Ben went through the timeline thing. He was with them at the end, and then they crossed. I'm pretty sure he's one of the people that crossed over, and him and Sloane disappear. And you're left with the original Umbrella Academy without their powers and without Allison.
Yep.
I'm just mad the Cube Man didn't make it, man.
Yeah.
Got blowed up.
I
He
know.
did get blowed up.
I know, sad.
Wasn't it just like a clinking of a glass? That was all it took to blow him up because
Yeah.
he was holding that nuclear or whatever you want to call it, like black hole looking thing. Yeah, that's all it took. Is there, let's say this, for the new Sparrow, or not the new, but for the Sparrow Academy, which power did you like the best out of all of them?
So I don't know what the cube's power was.
That is a good question. I got nothing.
Like, being omnipotent of the birds is kind of cool. I feel like that has a lot of potential.
He's telekinetic, the cube.
Okay, so that's easily that's my favorite superpower.
So you want to be a cube?
Sure.
Okay.
To be telekinetic, sure. Like I said, like I want to be the lazy superhero. Like I don't want to be the Flash because that requires running. I want to sit on the couch and have the things that I want come to me.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got to the state I'm in right now. Less movement, more food. Give me.
I will say, so season 1 got received relatively well, and I'll come back to you in a second, Casey. Season 1 got reviewed pretty well, like 75%, and season 2 and 3 are almost identical in the 90s, which I'm surprised that season 2 is, because I liked it less.
See, I feel like it's the same thing as like Stranger Things. Like I really liked season 1.
Yep.
I didn't like season 2.
Yep.
I really liked season 3, and then season 4 was great.
Blew that shit out of the water.
I feel like it's going to be the same thing. I liked season 1, but it was like the build up of the characters and everything. I didn't love season 2, but I didn't hate it either. Like there's a lot of parts of it that I did like, and then season 3 was really good. So I'm assuming this is going to be along the same.
Although
thing.
that means
now I have a lot of
expectations.
Yeah,
that's the
4.
worst thing. When you have that expectation and then it just falls flat, it definitely sucks.
Yeah, we were talking about that with movies at one point on one of the podcasts where it was like, this movie did really well, so everyone sees the next one, which did really, really poorly. So no one sees the next one, which did really, really well.
Yep.
Vicious cycle.
Stupid.
It's a
Thor
very
Yep.
weird cycle. And it all depends on the story, the director, not to mention the editing. There's so many things changes, and it proved that with the Snyder Cut. Like, the Snyder Cut's 15,000 hour long, but it's a better movie than the Justice League that came out. And that's all editing. That's all that is. Everything was filmed. They just edited it in a different way.
Well, the problem with the Justice League is the stuff that they cut out, they really had to leave in the movie to make it to
build the characters.
Movie.
Yeah.
It should have easily just been a series. They should have said.
Well, I don't even think it should have. I agree. A series would have been good, but they also, one of the things that made the Avengers so good is we got the Iron Man movie, we had an Iron Man second movie, we had a Captain America movie, we had a Thor movie.
Right.
We had 4 movies with fleshed out characters before we even got the Avengers, where they introduced 5 if you count the Hulk movie. And then they introduced only 2 new characters in the first Avengers. Black Widow, who was kind of already in Iron Man 2, and they introduced Hawkeye.
Well, Hawkeye is introduced in Thor. He's up at the top.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. They introduced nobody then.
Yeah.
So
They flush those characters out more, but we know that they're there.
And you don't have that with Justice League.
No.
Aquaman, was his movie before or after Justice League?
It was after.
Yeah. So it was after, so you don't have his character yet, and his movie was actually good.
Yeah, nobody knows who Batman is. He hasn't
But
had
you have
movies.
Batman, but we had Batman versus Superman right before that, too, which is part of the same universe.
Yeah.
I think you did have...
Martha!
Oh, God.
Why'd you say their name?
Did we just become best friends?
That's easily the worst.
Rationale for them stop fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
It's so bad. But anyway, you had you didn't get anything with Cyborg. There was no thing for him. You didn't get anything for Flash. So none of the characters had backstory, which is why Justice League failed until the Snyder Cut. Anyway, back to Umbrella Academy. All right, so what about you, Casey? Favorite character from the Sparrow Academy?
Probably the girl with the bird powers. I mean, telekinesis is pretty legit, but I thought that was a very neat power. That's the first time we've seen anybody have, like, complete control over something else that's a being, not just, like, matter.
Yep.
But, I mean,
The birds
like,
come out of her, though. They're like an
They
extension.
come out
of
and-
her.
yeah,
so,
it's weird.
Well, it's when they were attacking the birds, you really saw that too. She took like each hit. Like anytime they attacked a bird, she felt it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
the birds, she's not really controlling the birds. They're
birds
an
are
extension
her.
of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be. That's pretty legit.
But
I
she
also
did
like,
at one point like release a shit ton of them too.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of them.
I also like gangster tattoo artist Pogo.
Oh, the monkey.
Yeah, dude. He's like
he was really
not this like educated, soft-spoken,
Yep.
like suit and tie guy.
Yep.
He's just some.
I love
he's all
that he's got
tatted,
this
giving people
lady in a
tattoos.
trailer.
Yeah, the big,
good. The lady
his
in the
big
trailer was
white
great.
girlfriend in
Yeah.
the trailer.
It
Yeah, I
was so
know.
funny.
It was so great. It was so great. I thought that was so awesome.
Well, I love that. So they took this reality that they had and just literally flipped so much
Yeah.
stuff. And it was great because Pogo was that person they all relied on to begin with. And also how much they all loved their mom with the robot. And none of them took the mom seriously. And they also basically kept their dad drugged up. And so he couldn't do anything. Which is complete opposite of the first one where the dad just controlled everything, that they loved their mom, that Pogo was this advisor. They literally just flipped the script, which one of the reasons I thought season 2 was so interesting was just seeing all the different dynamics and learning more, hearing more of the mystery and figuring everything out. What did we think about the alien connection, by the way?
I don't really know enough about it yet.
What did you think when you first found out he was an alien? Were you like, he's an alien?
There's
Or
just
were you-
so
takes off his
much.
face,
Yeah, there's just so much of the show. Like, nothing at this point will surprise me.
I would have liked him to be a superpower person like they are, rather than an alien.
Well, we don't know that they're not aliens.
Fair. You're not wrong. It
Right.
could be that they got all impregnated by an alien or something.
Right.
Like,
that could be
their
why,
moms all swam in the same pool.
yeah.
you know, we come to find out, like, the alien race could have, like, seeded them
Yep.
for this ultimate thing that they have to do in season 4.
God, I dislike that statement so much.
Seeded them.
Ah, God, why does
You
that
don't,
just?
don't go
ah,
seeded.
I don't
You don't go sleep.
Like a
like
watermelon.
that. Please stop. Oh.
Watermelon do.
But yeah, so that let's say for right now that doesn't happen. They're not aliens, and he's the only alien. Doesn't that feel out of place a bit? Like, even though it's a superhero type world, even though there's a robot and a talking fucking monkey, does the alien thing feel out of place?
I don't know. I mean, he's using, like, kind of advanced technology of the time every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me. And to kind of think that, like, the government, like, the shadow government is run by alien forces is just one of those, like, tin hat theories that even people nowadays think anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So when I first saw that it was an alien, I was like, ugh, it's too much. Like, there's so much already going on with their show, now you're going to add aliens.
I mean, he trained a monkey to be a butler.
I
To be
understand.
fully, so this, and they created a fully sentient robot.
Sentient-ish. She only really becomes sentient once she finds that thing in
Well, she
season
like
3.
sits down and can like appreciate art and is like a motherly figure. So it just, I mean, that kind of technology is just way beyond being
Sure.
just a basic human.
But once they give you that, and you're under the impression that it's a basic human, and then they're like, nope, aliens. I guess I wasn't really
Right, so that
expecting
kind of fleshes him
aliens.
out. That's what I'm saying. Like, he is clearly not the basic human. And now you realize, okay, well, he's not a basic human. He's actually an alien. Now it makes more sense that he's able to do all these things.
I guess I'll have to see where they go with it. Because it was one of those... There's just, as we've discussed, there's so much going on with the show, with the superpowers, with everything else going on. Them just adding the alien component to it just felt like... Even though it might flesh him out and it might explain some stuff, it feels like a lazy way of explaining it, that he's just an alien. I was expecting more, I guess. It feels just like a cop-out. of a quick way to explain something rather than like a more logical answer rather than alien.
I'm sure it'll come full circle in season 4.
I'd hope so. Otherwise, we're going to be very disappointed when we do the podcast next year.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I can kind of agree with that, though. Like, I liked the fact that he was an alien. I thought it was neat, but it definitely seemed like the boardroom meeting for that was just aliens ... question mark.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's what the whole meeting on that
Or
episode
they
was.
built
Or like
themselves
him.
into a corner.
Yeah,
like-
and then we're like, what do we do?
Yeah, kind of like, hey, he
aliens.
does all these things. How the fuck do we explain that?
Like, I'm not
Aliens.
gonna lie, I would have liked it more had he been a superpowered person.
Yeah.
Been like, this is why I found you all, because 60 years ago, the same thing happened, and nobody talked about it.
Right.
So when I realized it happened again, I had to find all of it.
Right. But the fact that it's all one big game also felt like a bit of a cop-out. Like, he's playing a game, which I guess makes sense, because honestly, sometimes I feel like we're in like some type of game or
We are
reality
in
TV
the
show.
simulation.
I'm telling you, man, I have never seen my neighbor bring in groceries.
Okay.
I have.
That's like a big, like, you're in the Matrix thing. Like, oh, you don't think you're in a simulation? When was the last time you saw your neighbor go buy groceries?
My neighbor gets them delivered by door or whoever Instacart like
Yes.
all the time.
really?
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few things that have happened in my life where I've been like, it shouldn't be happening. Like, that's definitely one of those times where you start feeling the walls and making sure they're actually still there. Yeah, that's real, I think. All right, so Umbrella Academy, excited for season 4 to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the end of the series.
They
so-
just announced it today. It was great timing for this podcast. They just
That's fair.
announced one that they were getting another season because that wasn't official,
Yeah.
and then it was going to be the last season. So you get like good news and a little bit of bad news. But excited for it though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love it when shows do that. Again, I agree with him. I just
When
hope they
shows
don't-
end.
I like wrapping things up, man. Like it's the same thing with books. Like I'm always excited when I know the last one's gonna come out because I have so many questions, and I'm like, this is it. This is their chance to answer them.
Well, see,
and then that defines the series.
My
to me.
biggest issue is when they don't then. And then there's
Yeah.
nothing else coming. I get very annoyed with that. I'd rather have a supernatural show that went 15 seasons too long because they never answered everything, but I could always hope they would the next year.
Yep.
And when it ends,
Isn't
there's
that
no more
more
hope.
annoying though? Like you have infinite more amount of time to answer these questions, and you just choose not to.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the BBC Merlin show?
I think I watched the
Oh,
first
God, it was
episode or
miserable.
2 episodes.
You didn't like the
do
show
it.
at all?
It was hard to get into.
All right, cut his mic out of all of that.
Can't.
Well, I will say BBC shows sometimes are hard to get into. I'm excited for the next season to see how it all culminates, especially after season 3. I'm in the same boat with Mike of thinking that it will... The fact that season 3 is as good as it is a little bit detrimental, because now I'm built up for season 4. Granted, it will have a year before it comes up. Maybe it'll go down, but I love season 3. So... having
Does it
that,
say what their budget is for season 4?
no, 'cause it literally just got announced. So
Say realistically, there's only 2 questions I really, really need answers to, and I'll say need, not want. Need in regards to like this is how I'll view this show as a whole when it's done. I want to know more about him, like Hargraves. Like I want to know more about him, and I also want to know what the hell caused 43 women to randomly get pregnant and give birth. What in like the span of 48 hours?
Sorry.
something like that.
Okay.
I'll answer that one for you.
Those are the 2 things I really care about.
I
Everything else I
also
want
want
to
to know what's
but
going
I
to
need
happen
it.
with all the characters, which they should give us. Well, they're gonna give us that. I mean, if
No,
you're talking about a show
probably.
like that, but I would be annoyed. Like, let's say they answer those questions and then it just ends, but you don't get to see what happens to any of the numbers. Do they get their powers back? Do they die? Do they live? Do they go back to their timeline? All that stuff. You don't hear any of it. I'd be annoyed with that.
I mean, I'd be a little bit annoyed, but I like it when they leave some uncertainty.
I'm not saying that
I feel
it
like
shouldn't
in
be
that
left
kind
a little
of
bit
show,
uncertain.
they might just leave it like messed up, like the worst, and then
They
just
should.
They could.
like a cliffhanger ending of the series.
They could. I'd feel like that makes sense.
If they wouldn't have just done season 3 where they're like, fuck it, we've screwed up too much, let's just sit out, I would say that's how they should end season 4. is they should just put their hands up, fuck it, sit down, put their feet up, be like, let's just watch this bitch burn.
It's going to be something weird, like they get their powers back, but they're all mixed up powers, like they all have interchanged powers or something.
Switched in, yep.
That could be.
Yeah. I doubt, they've only got 10 episodes, which really isn't a lot to do as much as what I'm thinking they should do.
Or everybody else in the world has powers and
Except
they don't.
them?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Their power is
that could be
no
that could be
powers.
now. That could be the timeline that they're in right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, season 4 could be like they're just like
They're the
normal.
oddities because they don't have powers.
Yeah,
Right.
they were all 43 of them were born on the same day, and they don't have powers.
That would be a really cool twist. There you go. Call them up right now, Mike. Call up Netflix. Call up
and
whatever
they have to
the
like
Black
beat all
Horse
these
comic.
baddies as just like normal people.
Yeah.
All right. So let's wrap things up on Umbrella Academy. Casey, final thoughts?
I'm very excited for the last season. Again, I kind of wish it wasn't the last season because I feel like there's so many more things they could do, but I want answers. I like finality, so like I'm ready. I want it. I want to see it so bad. I will probably binge it in like 2 or 3 days at most.
Yep. That's fair. What about you, Mike? Final thoughts for Umbrella Academy?
I'm pretty excited about season 4, and again, I'm just kind of concerned that it will not live up to my expectations, but I still feel like it's going to be like one of those series that like even if it ends in like some dramatic unconcluded fashion, it will still match the rest of the show.
Yeah, tonality.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. It'll almost no matter what happens, it'll match what the show has because the show it's kind of showed you shit hits the fan a lot.
Nothing is off the table.
I will say that, I think we're all excited for the next season. Sucks we have to wait, but that's part of the game that we play when it comes to the series.
I know, I'm mad. I just binged 3 seasons of this in 3 months.
Yep.
And now you gotta wait a year. It
yeah.
sucks so bad.
Yeah, it's always better to do that after the show ends, so then you don't have to. But yeah, it's one of those shows that's it's up there for being good, but I'm similar with Mike where it's like not my favorite thing, but I do enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
One last question before we close out the podcast, though, and it's just for my own curiosity. How did you guys think they handled the Vanya Victor thing? Because that was like a big controversy for a lot of people. Like it mattered, but how did you think they handled it?
I feel like given the circumstance, I feel like they did the best with what they had, and me personally, I don't think it ruined anything. So I was like, okay. Like, it took me an episode to really buy into the Victor or Vanya Victor change.
Yep.
Like, it took me an episode to really be like, okay, this is how this is going to be now. How do I feel about this? And then I was just like, I don't really think it changed anything. Cool.
Okay, what about you, Mike?
It took me longer to find out that it was the actual actor that is doing that than just something that was, like, subplotted into the...
Oh, you didn't know ahead of time?
No.
Oh, okay.
So then, like, I actually read afterwards. I was like, oh, well... Vanya's Victor now? Like, I thought that was just like a kind
part of the story.
Yeah, like the transgenderism written into the story, which is flooded pretty much a lot of different things that are out right now. And it's not really surprising. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, the actor is the one that's like really pushing for this.
Well, not really pushing for it, but just made the transition from I've already forgotten her name.
Ellen to Elliot.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
I was going to say Ethan for some reason. But yeah, so from Ellen to Elliot, and then because of that, they decided to make the change in the show. I'm just happy that they didn't do it when they did the swap over to the Sparrow Academy. I was waiting for something else to happen to her in the show to turn her into a him.
Right.
And I don't think I would have liked that. I just felt like that would have been a cop-out.
Yep.
I think they did it
I feel
in
like
a way...
the actor wouldn't have gone for that
I
either.
agree with you, and that's... Yeah. But I was still expecting, like, a lot of shows will do something similar to that to try to make it make sense. But instead, they just kind of faced it head on and went, this is who I am, and the show just went, okay.
Yep.
Moving on.
I think
no big deal.
It made reasonable sense in a way because, like, they're all misfits.
Yeah.
Like, they all definitely act like they don't belong.
Yep.
Even Allison in the first season, who was, like, reasonably the most put together,
Yep.
you know she doesn't belong. She's definitely just, like, used her powers to get
get
to where
there,
she's
yeah.
at. Like, she doesn't fit in, she doesn't belong. None of them do.
Right.
And when they were like, "Hey, I'm different," they were like, "Okay."
Right. Yeah, and I thought they did that well. I was just, like I said, I was happy they didn't do the route I thought they were going to, because I heard about it before, and I wasn't like Mike, who didn't know about it until during the show or after. I knew about it before. There was controversy before, and I was wondering how they were going to handle it. And I was just hoping they weren't going to go down the route of, powers changed, switched, now you're a man.
Yeah. I mean, they got a dude who's 47% gorilla, so
Right.
off. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this episode. Next week, we will be talking about Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which will be right before Rings of Power comes out. So we'll be previewing that a little bit as well.